Alright, this your boy back again with another video. I could have put this in my other video, but I thought this deserved its own. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is someone I'm bullish on right now. But you know, he did a presser the other day, and it's funny because I called out the exact orders. I said it was going to be Zoe B.I., then Hart, JJ, and then NAW and Hayes. But anyway, Nickeil Alexander-Walker had his presser, and they asked him what he worked on and all that. But the most important thing was they mentioned the conversation he had with Stan, and he was like, Stan basically talked with him about what position he wanted to play, and he said he wanted to be the 2 guard. But basically, I'm sorry about that. I have to cough to clear my throat. But basically, he said he's been a 2 guard his whole life. He's more comfortable with the 2. He would much rather play 2, but not just that. He wants to play beside Zoe because he thinks he could be a better complement to Zoe, and Zoe is a better complement to him. Now, you guys know I told you I think if anybody, it should probably be Josh Hart. Josh Hart has earned that right, and I still stick by that. But I think, or let me say it this, I would be perfectly okay if Nickeil Alexander-Walker was the starting 2. Now, one, that means you got a much bigger backcourt, which is phenomenal. Big backcourts in the league now today do exceptionally well, especially if they can play defense. They're versatile. They don't have the disadvantages that smaller backcourts do, where you can trap them easily on offense and you can bully them on defense. They're a lot more difficult to deal with when it comes to defenses because they can switch better than the smaller guards. So there's that component. But I think in an offense where you have a BI and you have a Zion and you have an extending Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Lonzo, I think it will provide floor spacing for one. I think he gives everybody an additional ball handler and playmaking threat on the court. Basically, he will be a younger version. Like what I would see the transition for him being is they're going to groom him to be Drew Holiday again. But it's going to be taller Drew Holiday with better passing and better jump shooting ability, which means his tangible effect on the game will be greater. Will he be as good as Drew was defensively? Hell no. He'll take a dip there. But he'll be so good and he'll have the size and length to compensate for a lot of the other deficiencies defensively he doesn't have. And I think he'll be a net positive offensively too. So imagine you got a B.I. Zion pick and roll or B.I. Zion with Adams pick and roll. You got Lonzo, who should be an improved 3-point shooter this year. And now you got Nickeil Alexander-Walker instead of Bledsoe because Bledsoe can't shoot threes. They're both spacing the floor. You have to respect Lonzo and Walker on the court at the same time with those guys, because they can get hot. And if they get to the point that they're knocking down threes, all hell is going to break loose, number one. But they're also playmakers. And so even if they don't get the shot, if you like close out on them improperly or they get you behind on switches, there's nothing for them to make the proper play, attack the basket and make the appropriate pass to the open player at the rim and get the easy 2 points. So they're going to be phenomenal in that vein. Number two, even if B.I. or Zion does not pass the ball out that pick and roll, the space afforded to them because of the spacing those two provide together will benefit them, making them more effective overall. So here's my thing. If you're going to build Nickeil Alexander-Walker to essentially be Drew Holiday 2.0, just better shooter, less defense. Get him out there and let him play. Hold him accountable. And this is the time to be, drilling defensive principles into him. He's like 21 years old. Get him out there, let him get the minutes, and have him, play defense. Force him to play defense. Force him to be a better player. Let him fuck up, but let him get out there and make the mistakes. Because if Nickeil Alexander-Walker can give you 14 or 15 a game playing two guard, and let's just say he's shooting 37-38% from three this year, which shouldn't be shocking. He's not a bad three-point shooter. He can make and take those shots. He's effective as hell, and he gives you a dynamic that you really didn't have, or that you would be missing without Drew on your team. Likewise, the other thing is, even if you don't want to start him, he could still play two guard off the bench, or he could flex. He could flex to play point guard. And if need be, if Zoe is cooking from three and you want to get Zoe off ball, moving to get more looks, you could play NAW at point guard and slide Zoe at the two, and then Zoe will be the person that Nickeil will look for, along with B.I. and Zion. But when you got people like Adams and Zion setting picks for Zoe and screens to get Zoe open, if he's cooking, then NAW can find him. But NAW is enough of an offensive ball handling threat on his own that they cannot sag off or play him lightly. That is going to put an immense amount of pressure on them. Now again, if Josh Hart started, I'm okay with that. Hell, I suggested it. I've been team Josh Hart start too. If you got rid of Drew, I'm going to still be on that bandwagon. But if they said we're going to play NAS to start too, I'm bullish on that too. Play that nigga to start too. The only thing that I have an issue with is, and this is going to be the Pels' problem, maybe to me, depending on how they go, is scoring off the bench. Because you're going to have Hayes, Melly, Josh Hart, JJ, and either NAW or Bledsoe, and to a lesser extent, Kira. My thing is, if you start NAW, that means Bledsoe has to be your off-bench point guard. JJ is going to be in as your shooting guard. Josh Hart is going to be your small forward, who will be undersized, but he's serviceable, he's capable. And then you're going to have Melly and Hayes. Now, Melly and JJ play no defense. Absolutely none. So you're going to have massive defensive lapses without the offense. Like, they're going to space the floor, and JJ's obviously going to be a threat from shoot three along with Melly. But the problem is you don't have that factor. Like with Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench, you got someone to run the second unit, and you got someone who could be the point of attack for the second unit. He would be phenomenal. And so that's the issue I see them running with. Now, obviously, they've been saying they're going to play Bledsoe probably at the two, and I get it, but I think I'm hoping that Stan is available to alternating or mixing up the lineup, if not based on matchup, based on need. So even if you want to run, let's say, Bledsoe and Zoe, if it's not working, I hope you're willing to adjust by putting Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Josh Hart in. I do not want to see JJ starting. I think he's better served coming off the bench, coming off first, or Josh Hart. And I think there's overlap between those two. It's just Josh Hart is better defensively, but JJ is so much better at shooting threes, you can't not play him. And so for me, it's like, it'd be nice if we could get rid of one of those guys-ish. But again, they're going to probably play Josh Hart at the small forward this year because they really don't have anybody they can trust there. And so they didn't draft anybody, which is why the Kira pickup is terrible to me. Well, it's not terrible, but it's not optimal. Like my viewpoint is this with Kira. Kira can replicate some of what Zoe can do in transition. So if Zoe ever got hurt, you have your Lonzo, your backup Lonzo. So, there's that. The um the other part of it for me is I don't see how Kira's gonna get anything meaningful. Like, if we go down the list, Josh Hart's better than him. JJ is a much better proven shooter than him. He's automatically going to be higher on the depth chart. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is better, and Lonzo is clearly better. That's ultimately what it comes down to me. There's like everybody on the team is decidedly better and deserves to play more minutes than him. But again, if an injury were to occur or something, you could do that. Or the other thing that I think about, if Zoe is in foul trouble, you can run Kira as Lonzo, and your backcourt may be smaller depending on if you playing him next to Bledsoe, but you can still get a Lonzo-ish effect. You can keep pushing the pace all game, which ultimately I think is what the Pels are going to want to do, given the roster and given some of the athletes on the roster. So, that's just my take on that. But yeah, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker for sure should be looked at as a starter this season at some point. If not, they should at least be grooming him to be that way, And let's assume that Lonzo's going to sign and come back, as a Pelican next year. Bledsoe is in his 30s, like 30, 31. He's not part of the long-term solution there anyway. So eventually, the keys to the starting shooting guard will have to go, and I'll add JJ to that too. JJ is not the long-term answer there too. But the keys are going to have to go to NAW in that two guard, either him or Josh Hart. I think they're perfectly fine with Josh Hart being the sixth man. I think Josh Hart is okay with being the sixth man, and if so, I don't see why Nickeil Alexander-Walker shouldn't get those minutes or shouldn't get the look at that position. I know last year he had his issues, and this year he'll definitely have some issues too, but at the same time, you picked him. He's got all of the tools, the skill set that you need at a two guard. I think you have to grow and develop him there. And in order to see what he is or what he can be, you're going to have to play him. Like, for instance, they tried to play Zoe off the bench. They didn't get. They realized you had to play Zoe. Zoe was too good. Zoe had to be played. And with Zoe playing, Zoe got into game shape, and then he started to take off. And he started to having those games where everybody was like, yo, Lonzo looks really fucking good. He started to look like the number 2 overall pick. So the same thing here. You're going to have to play Walker so that you can get that same effect. His is going to be different, though. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Nickeil Alexander-Walker goes on a stretch where he's averaging like 18 points per game on 48% shooting and 41% from 3 or some shit. Like, I could totally see that happening. He's just, in my eyes, I'm bullish on him right now. I'm buying Nickeil Alexander-Walker stock. But here's the other part of that too. If Nickeil Alexander-Walker steps up and proves to be a very good player, when it comes time for the trade deadline, there's going to be teams asking for his services, and you could go get better parts. So, hypothetically, let's just say Orlando is like, okay, we're going to blow this experiment up, and we need to move Vujovic or Mo Bamba, or is it Mamba? Whatever, Mo Bamba, and whoever else, Aaron Gordon. And let's just say they need another combo guard. Maybe they're also trying to get rid of DJ Augustine or something. You might be able to say, okay, look, we'll give you Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a pick, and Nico Melli for Vujovic, who could start as your center. Maybe they might be willing to trade Adams in that or something, or Hayes. But you got your stretch 5 who can rebound now. Now, The Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes have paid dividends because you got a better player. You can get Aaron Gordon, perhaps. You could get Mo Bamba or whatever his name is. The point is now you're building your roster to benefit your core pieces. But at worst, you're developing a promising prospect or player to be a great tool or piece for various reasons, whether it means to be played or to be traded. So that's just my opinion. Again, I'm bullish on Nickeil Alexander-Walker this year. I want to see him do good. I expect to see market improvement for him. Jackson Hayes too. But my thing with Jackson Hayes is I want to see if he's stretched out his range. If he can pull a Tim Duncan and knock down 18 feet jump shots or something like that, great. Less ticky-tack fouls, being able to deal with, the size of some of these centers and stuff. I'd love to see that from him. But the main thing is I'm bullish on NAW. And if it's not Josh Hart, I want to see NAW get a lot of minutes at that 2 spot. So it's your boy. Peace.